Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director of American Center for Law and Justice. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So the timing, as Rob just said, very interesting. This is essentially a win, though, at least yesterday for Trump, right?
This is a bigger win than getting the stay, just to make clear to everyone out there. A stay, again, is usually pretty temporary. You're looking at a specific issue, which the court will then decide on whether just a case can move forward. Now they've decided to take the case as a whole, and they also wrote the question presented very specifically. Can you be held criminally for official acts as president? And so they're going to look to official acts and only those, and can you be held criminally for that? Now, you pointed out the key victory here is whatever happens in that case, ultimately at the U.S. Supreme Court, will probably not affect Donald Trump at all. It will be impossible. I mean, it would be a miscarriage of justice. It would be against Department of Justice policies to start this trial where you will likely not have an opinion. I'm betting until the last week of June, which is the court usually is done by them with issuing opinions, or at the latest, the first week of July. Right. So that means no trial could be concluded. It would just be the government and the Department of Justice, which has a policy against anything that could be seen as interfering in the election. So we're ready to go on this. ACLJ can't wait to file on this as well.
Yeah, by the way, I know you know this, Jordan, but the Supreme Court could rule in Donald Trump's favor here.
Yeah.
And say that he has immunity, which means bye-bye, that case goes away. It seems like all of these cases, you look at Georgia, that case is falling by the wayside as well. But this is something that could have been decided in the 1970s with Richard Nixon. But Gerald Ford pardoned him, so it never got to the Supreme Court level. But David Frost, British journalist, they made a movie about this, Frost-Nixon, interviewed Nixon in 1977. And Nixon, again, tried to make the case that when a president does something, it's not illegal. Take a listen.
So what, in a sense, you're saying is that there are certain situations, and the Houston plan, or that part of it was one of them, where the president can decide that it's in the best interest of the nation or something, and do something illegal.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
Okay, and that was the moment, by the way, of that interview, Jordan. But how do you think the Supreme Court will rule on this? By the way, for everyone at home, Republicans, conservatives seemingly have a 6-3 advantage in the high court.
Yeah, they're going to be very cautious. They're going to look to specifically what the Court of Appeals did. And I think the Court of Appeals, and we will look for this in the actual oral arguments here and some of the briefing that's coming. The Court of Appeals wrote this line that basically says, I can't direct quote, but and it might be because I've said it so many times, but that the president loses all immunity that he had as president at 12:01 the day he leaves as president of the United States. That has far-reaching issues, and not just for President Trump, for past presidents and future presidents to be convicted of what are called, criminal acts under someone's definition. They have to then prove that in court, but acts they took as president of the United States. And what we are talking about here again is official acts. I think a lot of these hypotheticals, can you have someone shoot, could the president order someone to shoot his political opponent? That would not, in my mind, fall under an official act of the president. That's not what we're talking about here. That's not what the court is considering. They're considering official acts of the president of the United States and whether or not they can be convicted of those or if their immunity exists post-presidency. And that Court of Appeals, way too far. That 12:01, you could have somehow arrested President George W. Bush because he was wrong on weapons of mass destruction, and even when he found out, continued the war in Iraq.